You guys have been absolutely incredible. And this is a sign of the times. There's a lot of people that are naysayers and don't understand the challenges that we will absolutely go through, and it will not be smooth. But ultimately, the changes, they're occurring. The rise of a new kind of finance is setting off alarm bells at the Fed. A surge in new methods and avenues to circumvent conventional bank finance represents the next major challenge for regulators in Washington. The St. Louis Fed's president says, James Bullard told Business Insider in an interview. He argued that the debate over Wall Street rules amounted to fighting the last war. I do think we're at the end of the era of thinking about, for example, Dodd-Frank. Bullard said, the new issue now for the next 10 years is going to be fintech and how fintech is going to affect financial intermediation in the U.S., and Silicon Valley is at the very front of that. All the discussion is about how we can strip the profits from the big firms. Now, I'm sure James Bullard is wise enough to understand it's even bigger than profits. If it was just profits, that would just be, well, the evolution of one business being better than another evolution, or less friction in the economy. But here we have really a mind-blowing concept that most of these presidents probably know about and simply don't want to talk about. It's the idea of freedom and peer-to-peer interaction, and that's as frictionless as it gets. And the concept is all about control of our own monetary destiny. We're not going to call it banking. We're going to call it something else. That's happening every day. I know that the regulatory world here in D.C. does not react well to that. They react legalistically. I think that's the issue that's going to face us and the new leadership of the Fed going forward. Weakening Dodd-Frank or doing something more with Dodd-Frank is beside the point when Silicon Valley is as powerful as it is. And it's not just Silicon Valley that he should be thinking about, which maybe he is thinking about others. It's around the world decentralizing the monetary system so that the people decide what they want to do, not the upper elite deciding whether it is somehow frictionless or taking away profits or anything really related to that. Not that that's not important, but it's so much bigger. He said big banks' efforts to domesticate some of the new technologies, including investments in blockchain, may not be enough to catch up with the speed of change coming out of the more cash flush, venture capital driven tech world. And it's not just cash flush or the fact that they have incredible resources. It's human capital getting together, very often volunteering, putting in their time, and open source, just bottom line work, even though there may not even be cash involved. It's so much bigger. Banks will always say, buy the technology and bring it into the regulated sector, Bullard added. He's actually correct on that. But you kind of wonder, are these really the institutions that are going to be able to innovate quickly, or are they just big bureaucracies that are going to be able to be too slow to run this kind of stuff? It's really not about the bureaucracy. We've moved past the bureaucracy. It's actually the Federal Reserve that creates the bureaucracy in conjunction with the governments around the world. It's these central banks that don't quite understand that the legacy central banking industry as a whole does not have the tools or mindset to move forward this kind of technology. Now, of course, fintech is a big part of this. Silicon Valley, again, a part of this, but this is worldwide, and it is a change in human thinking. It's an evolution that has brought about the necessity and now the slow adoption of an incredibly disruptive technology that even James Bullard quite at this point can't put his mind around. But don't worry, keep sticking around with these channels and you'll learn what the rest of us already know.